All right, it is 7 o'clock on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. I am opening the administrative board meeting at 7 p.m. I will take roll call first. William?
Present.
Jen?
Here.
Jared?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Dina?
Here.
Jason? President Rick Worm is absent. Brenda?
Here.
I am here, and Dan.
Here.
I need a motion to make somebody President Pro Tem.
I'll make a motion to make William President Pro Tem.
Last name.
Oh, Lushner, sorry.
I'll second.
All right, Dina makes a motion to appoint William Luxinger President Pro Tem. Jen seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Is that a yes, you're opposed?
Correct, I'm opposed.
Okay. Motion passes at 7:01. William, it's yours.
Give me a minute while I settle in and get ready.
Put my.
Dina?
You're gonna need the paper out of the drawer, but she's got it.
You guys see that all right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Can you?
I got it right here. I'm good.
Okay, just checking.
You don't want me to go over the
Not yet. All right. First item on the list is the consent agenda. If the clerk could please go over the items.
Yep. On the consent agenda for approval tonight, number 1 is the March 26, 2019 Administrative Board Minutes. Number 2 is the bills payable warrant list dated April 23rd, 2019, which includes signs, fuels, computer maintenance supplies, concessions, donations, training, travel expenses, legal services. Some of the Meridian Youth Baseball expenses are on there as well, publishing, professional services, pre-approved and direct pay bills. Number 3 is ordinance number 19-06, an ordinance authorizing disposal of personal property owned by the Village of Davis Junction, the scrap load. And number 4 is resolution number 19-26, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of sweeping proposal from Lakeshore Recycling System.
At this time, does any board member wish to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Okay. I move to place the agenda items number 1, 2, 3, and 4 inclusively as consent agenda items. Further, I move that all items be considered together as consent agenda.
Second.
Tina made a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 4, seconded by Jared. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
I abstain.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Stephen? Does an abstention go with the yeas? Okay.
Motion passed.
Did I read that or no? Okay. I move to adopt consent agenda number items 1, 2, 3, and 4, inclusively on the consent agenda in a single group pursuant to the omnibus vote procedures specified in the Illinois Municipal Code.
Second.
Dina made a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items 1, 2, 3, and 4, seconded by Jared. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
Abstain.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason? William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Motion passed, 1907. Moving on, there's a discussion of Verizon under the president's report. I will defer to Dan, apparently.
William's not aware that Verizon is here to discuss this.
Sure. You wanna wait till Rick arrives, or we could pass?
no, we're good now.
Well, that answers it.
Yeah,
We can circle around till he gets prepared.
okay.
You ready? We're on you, so.
All right, Rick arrived at when?
7:05?
7:05.
I had 1908 on mine, but it was after the.
I had the old blank screen, I had to come home from work. Did you have a discussion with Verizon?
I can introduce it, yeah, sure. Tonight, we have representatives from Verizon here to discuss their proposal. As you know, the village has a lease with Verizon. They rent space on the water tower for their communications equipment. There have been some issues with their ground equipment. What was installed there was not what was originally approved by the building official. As a result, after some extended back and forth, the village sent a termination notice to Verizon in hopes of resolving that termination. They have submitted a alternative proposal, and I believe you've had an opportunity to review it. They're here to provide some context to that proposal and answer any questions you have here tonight. I'll turn it over to them. I'll ask you to speak and use the microphone so that Sandy can keep the minutes.
We do have a separate second mic if you'd like.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah, to fight over the mic.
We can both lean in. Yeah, okay. Is it okay if I sit down?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. President and village trustees, thanks for having me. My name is Jake Remington. I'm with the law firm of Hush Blackwell, representing Verizon. With me is Dan Schlaga with Terra. I wanted to come tonight because I understand there are some questions regarding the proposed modification to the current ground equipment for the installation near the water tower. And we want to make sure that we convey the reason behind the proposal. I also will provide some context as to, in regards to the question, the logical question, which is why is what we're getting now as proposal not what was originally proposed, which is the prefabricated structure that was part of the original plans. So I guess in terms of addressing those points, I can either start with sort of the backstory as I understand it. I think Verizon's coming here today not, it appreciates the partnership with the village, and it's when I spoke with Mr. Bolin, we both agreed it was not ideal to get to the point where we are today to actually get this here addressed, fixed, resolved. I drove up to the water tower and I see where it is. I see the houses that are nearby and looked at the structure as it is currently constructed and understand the noise for rain hitting the aluminum top, and that it towers above the wooden fence there so it's an eyesore. So my understanding is that the construction standards at the time, this was I think 2016, early 2017, if I have my dates correct, it was to install the ground equipment in these prefabricated structures that are enclosed. So it'd be enclosed within the wooden fence, and that's what was proposed. At some time, this project changed hands, is my understanding, and whoever took it over, the construction standards had changed, and they didn't review it, and they did the notice to proceed on the new structure that you see there today. So, you know, we're not here to say that what's there should be there and was what was proposed. I think there's no dispute it wasn't. But in regards to what is being proposed now, there was thought put into it as to why it's not what was originally proposed. And Dan can answer some of the questions in regards to noise. Backing up, I guess the prefabricated structure that we've seen pictures of and that was a part of the original plans would house the equipment in this building. And it would require air conditioning units because in the summer it would get really hot in there. And so, Dan, if you want to add in about, you looked at the level that structure would, the noise from those generators would be.
Basically, the shelter would have 2 wall-mounted HVAC units on the side. The equipment inside of the shelter gets hot. That combined with, you know, heat from summertime and whatnot, those units run basically all throughout the summer, all day. Average decibel level on that is about 70, which is roughly 10 times louder than your average window unit. So it's not by any means quiet.
So the proposal now we have is it's open air, and the reason is because then you don't have to have those generators to keep the equipment cool. The other thing is the prefabricated structures look better than the naked installations, but because this is behind a wood fence, you wouldn't see it in any event. So, you know, this isn't a case where what's behind the wooden fence would need to be closed in some, you know, structure which would house the equipment. So, and it would be brought to grade. So the lean-to you see above the fence right now would be brought to grade. So the only thing that you would see are, I think the lights would extend a bit.
Correct.
And those wouldn't be, the engineer wanted us to address, those lights wouldn't be on hardly ever. Therefore, if there's a reason to come to the, you know, the installation at night and do maintenance, maybe at 4 o'clock when it's dark here in the winter, those lights would be used, but they would not otherwise be on. So the net effect would be that the enclosure, the lean-to would come to grade. It would be, there wouldn't be a enclosed structure in there, so there wouldn't need to be any additional noise generated, and you wouldn't see it behind the wood fence. So that's what was put together to address noise and aesthetics, and so we think those have been met, and that's what we're proposing at this point. So if anyone has any questions about that, like the actual drawings, Dan can address them, and then
The proposal is to remove the roof, correct?
yes.
Been a couple weeks since I.
Yeah, so there'd be no roof.
Yeah, the canopy will be removed.
Can I ask how that impacts the noise?
From the pitter-patter of the water.
Yeah, will it just be further down on the
Oh.
pitter-patter of the water?
No, I mean, it hit the grating on the bottom platform. It's different, I
Okay.
guess. I'm not nearly as loud as, you know, aluminum.
It would be like, you know, a air conditioning unit outside someone's house. So it's way down, and the aluminum has the acoustics, obviously, with the water hitting. So yeah, it would address the noise from the rain, and it would address, again, it would lower itself to grade so that you would see it beyond the wooden fence.
Not to sound, I mean, kind of going off of what Sandy said, if it doesn't, where are we then? I mean, that's my concern, because then we're kind of.
Have them take the tower down.
Yeah, I mean, if it's brought to, you're still hearing the noise, I mean, I don't know if there are any other dampening solutions. I mean, we'd certainly look at what has been done in other cases.
And
I'm not
the
sure.
only reason I asked, it just seems to be, it seems like this has been a topic for a long time.
Sure.
And so, at that point, you know, it seems like a logical solution, but then I would say the last one seemed like it was gonna be okay until it wasn't. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
I mean, it wasn't done right the first time. Why don't you guys contact us and tell us that, you know, you guys are gonna have something different?
So I can't speak for, you know, the reason we're here today, other than to say that I shared Dan's comment that it was unfortunate to get this point. I think that That's why they wanted me to come here, is to basically not have anything lost in communication, to say this is, there's thought put into this, this is what they want to do, they want to get it right, and I think there was no intentional disregard to sort of say this was what is better or worse, or this is what we wanted, and we promised you this, and we're not going to put that in. I think there was an oversight on their part.
That's understandable,
Yeah.
but we've reached out over the course of 18 months to Verizon to make contact.
And
And there's been failure and failure,
And-
repeated failure. So
Yeah, and
it took the threat of termination of the lease to get somebody's attention. And we finally got two attorneys, and me personally, no offense, I'd still rather have somebody from Verizon to answer these questions.
And that's, and I understand that, and that's why, you know, that part of the issue, obviously, in a large company, is getting the right person to take care of it, and we talked about, you know, just addressing these things right up front, and so
So
that's where I mean, that's why.
Well, first, I mean, if the board does agree to this amendment or change, how do we settle the issue of further communication to Verizon?
I mean, I think, that's something that, I can bring back to them and say, look, there needs to be, so let me back up. Right now, it's, you bring it to Dan, and then Dan email or sends a letter. I mean, who do you have right now as the contact person, if you have anyone?
We're engineers.
The engineer?
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Well,
and-
our engineers have the information. I don't know who it is.
Matt Hansen has the contact.
Right,
Okay.
before it got to me, the engineers were communicating with the, notice contact in the lease, obviously, and that's been unproductive.
And I can tell you that sitting here today, that something that's being discussed is, you know, landlord-tenant relationships and making sure that there's communication between the two so that you don't get to the point where we're here today. I mean, I don't, Verizon wouldn't say this is the result they wanted either, and I get the sense that, you know, it's like, well, you know, that you guys didn't create the circumstances where I'm sitting here today, but I think that's definitely something they're looking at, is how do we have better lines of communication and, you know, prevent the instance where you have to have an attorney drive down to just have a question and answer, and get things resolved and not have anything lost in communication.
But it was to the point, though, that we felt we had no other option than to throw this out there, because we just were not getting anything back.
And it just makes it awfully costly to have a conversation, to have to do it that way every time.
Exactly.
And I can tell you guys that as their attorney, I have these conversations with my client. So, you know, this isn't falling on deaf ears, so I will have that conversation with them. And we do have the conversation with them about, you know, how can we avoid this result? How can we be better tenants? How can we, you know, show villages, towns, cities, we value their partnership? This doesn't do that, and so to get to this point, you know, it's like a learning lesson, but certainly, something that I have conversations with them about.
What options or solutions have you guys come up with for the other noise issue at the top of the tower on the antennas that's currently being wrapped with duct tape until those weather off? And are you
So-
aware of that issue?
I'm not aware of that issue, so I mean, but these are, if there are other issues that I can take back and we can,
We spent close to 12 to 18 months
Yeah.
tracking down what was a nuisance whistle that was heard for blocks. You guys came out 3-4 times,
Somebody did.
at least, trying different techniques, different things. Finally, one technician from Verizon just started wrapping something with duct tape, and it seemed to have worked, but it's not a permanent.
Until it wears off, or wears away.
this is the antenna on the top.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
On the top of the tower. And this isn't just a isolated issue, local to the 2 or 3 homes right around there. We've had complaints from block and a half, 2 blocks away.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think my goal would be to have this proposal digested and then approved, and then, I mean, that would be part of it. It would be
It's not gonna take 18 months, is it?
addressing, no, I mean, assuming there's a solution that, you know, is a permanent one, you know, I think that if the duct tape is something that worked for now, I understand there's the concern that it might wear off, so I'm sure.
Well, and
Might,
I believe, if memory serves, that they'd said if the duct tape worked, they would make a permanent solution
Yes.
and install it, but we haven't seen anything come back.
I
And it worked.
can get it, so the duct tape worked and stopped the
Correct.
whistle?
Yes, there's
Okay.
no more noise.
Okay.
The chicken's clucking, but I don't see no eggs.
So I'll check on the, you know, what the permanent solution is after, if the duct tape fixed the problem.
Absolutely.
How about the rest of the landscaping that's supposed to go in? I know Matt had addressed it in his question as well, but there's some additional landscaping that's supposed to go around the outside of the fence that's not there.
So they were in the landscaping plan.
Yeah.
Does it have, in the new proposal, does it have that
I believe
landscaping?
Matt mentioned it in the ones that he discussed with you, or Matt Hansen.
Yeah, okay.
Had discussed that as well.
Yeah, is that in the proposal, do you know?
There was proposed landscaping, when I was,
Mod?
no, when I was, prior to today, I hadn't seen the site.
Okay.
I did see that there were some arborvitaes planted. I haven't compared the number of arborvitaes planted to what was proposed, but I'm sure that's an easy, quote-unquote, fix
Yeah.
for Verizon to complete the installation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it would be, the modification would be updated current plans that would reflect what's there, and we'd put arborvitae and it'd reflect the
Well,
landscaping
the goal
plan.
was to prevent the fence from being seen, except for at the entrance point where you can't hide it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for
No,
the
we
gentleman. Okay.
It's open to questions.
Sir, I know that there's a contract between the Village of Davis Junction and Verizon Corporation, correct?
At least correct.
At least, yeah, whatever, okay. My question is, within that lease, it must contain any remediation that has to be done, whether it's on our part or your part, correct? There's gotta be cost corrections in there.
For when it's removed, or when,
I don't care if it's removed or if it's fixed, it's brought back up to standards. What I'm getting after is this: I would like to see the Village of Davis Junction's legal bills and any other bills that are associated with costs that we've had to incur, that we get reimbursed from Verizon from this. After all, right is right and wrong is wrong, and I'm not trying to figure out all that right now, but we seem to be, Verizon's the sun, and we're like the moon. We want to be treated fairly, equally, and we want parity, if that's possible. And at the same time, I would like to see the Village of Davis Junction reimbursed for any and all costs that we've had to incur.
I think what he's trying to say is that we made every due process attempt to remediate this collectively, and Verizon forced our hand to go the legal route that we shouldn't have had to do.
I understand. So, and I mean, I can't answer that request.
Well, you're an attorney and you're here tonight. We have our attorney, he's here tonight. Who did they send us?
I don't have authority.
Respectfully, sir, I'm being respectful, I don't mean to be.
No, I understand.
Great.
If that's a request that's made, I can bring it back to them, but I don't have authority to approve something like that sitting here today. I mean, that I'm prepared to address why we are here, the modification, and, you know, and bring back other issues like the duct tape to, if that's not whistling, then we need to have a permanent solution, landscaping. So, I mean, I'm not telling you sitting here today, that's something I know won't fly, and I won't take it back. I mean, I will take it back, and if there's a proposal that this is what we feel we're entitled to and we'd like to see from Verizon, I mean, I can make that request.
Bill's absolutely right. I mean, as I'm looking at your, or maybe this isn't maybe this is the one you proposed to put in. Did we get the drawings that they're wanting to propose the changes on?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Did it come from you?
Yes, it's in the board packet.
Oh, that's why I can't find it.
So, Jake, Dan,
You can't find
sitting
things in
beside
board
you are
packets.
two of the newly elected people of the board, so
Yeah.
they're gonna have questions as well.
Yeah, I just have one question. You guys, already have a site like this somewhere else in another municipality? That we could maybe see a picture of? I mean, see what it looks like?
Oh, the ground, like
The
Yeah.
proposal?
I assume it's standard, or you're, use a standard sign?
I've recently, I'm working on new sites right now where there's no canopy installed. I've not seen an existing site where we've got the platform,
So you've never used this before, this would be the first?
to my knowledge. I've not personally worked on a
I
site with
thought
the
you would
canopy.
have something, and we maybe could see a picture and see what it looks like before we decided, or municipality we could contact and say, how's this worked out for you?
Yeah.
Just if you have, you know.
I think we can get pictures of what this installation would look like, rather than just plans.
And guaranteed that's gonna be what it is.
In the plan, yeah, I mean, it would be, this is, because it would be a construction standard, would be, I mean, it wouldn't be, this is what's being installed.
I mean, 'cause that's what you guys told us the first time, we got something different.
No, I mean, I think the plans would, this is what it looks like, the plans would spell it out as to the engineering, and then that's not what's installed. I mean, Matt Hansen would call me up and say, that's not what's installed, you know, and so, and that's the line of communication as far as getting this to the position where the board is said, okay, this is what the plans say, Matt Hansen signs off on it, we're good. I mean, I would be the line of communication to make sure that this gets addressed if there's anything like, this isn't what we're looking at in front of us with the plans.
So, understand that there's a
Yeah.
little animosity on our side.
No, I get it,
Just due to the fact that we've
I-
had a hard time getting a hold of people, getting people to respond.
Well,
But
I mean,
what we've
you're
gotta do is figure out how to go forward for what we're going to do.
You're also wanting us to do the work twice again. So we've already done the work of reviewing your plans, inspecting it, and now you wanna resubmit them and have our engineers do more review and more site work that's gonna cost us money that we've already had done. I mean, I'm almost to the point where I think, I mean, if you're gonna submit it's basically another project to us, should be subject to the review fees of Willett Hoffman. I don't see why we gotta eat that cost again.
I don't even want to eat it the first time around.
So I just wanna make sure I've got everything. So the confirming that the temporary solution to stop the whistling in the antenna on the top of the tower has worked, but then what's the permanent to
Right.
ensure that it works? Yeah. Photos, if we have them, of this type of or this type of ground equipment. And then fees, basically, there's the incurred fees to the village to get to, you know, that would be incurred beyond,
For the review
Original.
process and the legal fees.
yeah. I mean, if you can, can you put that together as far as what those fees are and costs are? Or would they be, do we have to still is there I mean, does it make sense to
Well,
do it?
sure, we can come up with what the review process fees are, and then
Yeah.
we can pull the legal fees. I mean, they're still,
Please include everything in there, engineering and legal and,
yeah. I think we can get it together for you pretty quickly.
Yeah, and would it be,
Engineers might take a little.
Okay.
is there any, I mean, would it be now, or would it be, I mean, we should probably wait till it's all approved unless Matt's had his final review. When is the next, this would need to be board would there need to be action taken for this? I guess I'd ask Dan, or would it be,
It depends on what form, I expect that this might require some kind of amendment or, to the lease. I would have to think about that.
yeah, so if you wanna find out what, logistically, if the plans are signed off on and everything's square, how do we get it incorporated, and then, and
Actually, the simple answer is, they just gotta pull a permit. They pull a permit, submit their plans with the permit, and that's all reviewed anyways by the engineers, and it's billed through the permitting process. Because it's already zoned appropriate, and unless there is any specific changes to the lease, if there is, then yeah, I think it would have to be
Right,
board
that,
approved.
right,
But
that
if
might
not-
work, that might work.
I think that makes
if-
sense
if we-
because there's the right to modifications, so it'd be sort of like if you're doing a modification, it's like, well, you need to pull the permit and get building to approve it, and so it'd be
Then,
like,
then it's permitted, the plans are dropped off, we can inspect it to the plans.
Yeah.
Right.
got it, okay.
And then rescinding whatever termination should we reach a resolution, so.
Yeah, like a letter agreement or something.
Right.
Okay, okay.
So that would rely on the board being okay with them proceeding with what they've proposed for them to pull the permit.
We're not,
Well, no, they
to
just,
be clear, we're not approving that, we're just saying that they can
Mm.
move forward with it so we can look at it to approve it. If they pull a
so
permit.
they could pull a
He's gonna
permit.
provide them more information first,
Right.
the drawings or the pictures of what it's gonna look like. They're gonna get some of our questions answered, which he said he would do. We've offered up to go through the permit process rather than have to go through the whole review process. I think.
You mean the like, public hearing process, the PZC? I mean, it'd still have to go through
Yeah.
review through Casper and stuff.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
but that's through the permit process, not through the full project review. So I think if we get those items together, we can try to get the billing together for you for what those fees would be.
Okay,
That gives us a path forward.
yep, okay. Yeah, understood. And then I've got a good line of communication to Dan, so, you know, I'll make sure that I'll
Right.
reiterate the kind of what we've discussed, and you confirm that's what we've got on
Right,
the
sure.
to-do list, and then I'll let you know where we stand.
Right, and if you take back, the feedback that you've gotten today, to your side, we could work towards some kind of, letter agreement, I suppose. 'Cause, yeah, for sure, we would, rescind the I would think the village would rescind the termination only on condition of those approved plans that we all talked about.
Understood?
Sound good to you?
Yeah.
Sound good to the board?
Fine with that?
All right, thank you.
Welcome. Coming up.
Thanks.
Thanks.
More welcome, stick around for the rest of it.
Yeah, it's nice
You
out
gentlemen
there.
have a good night.
Fergie, do you have more battery? This one here is turning red. Yeah.
That means Chrissy talked to
That public. That's why you need to get him up here where you got a permanent. And we gotta find somebody else to show up to all the meetings if you're gonna be up here. What's that?
Not just me
Yeah,
anymore.
but when Chris is using one of these, it doesn't use batteries.
That's true.
Okay. Clerk?
I don't have anything till later.
I have nothing right now.
Dan?
No report? Thank you.
Go to the committees, community improvement, finance.
Ooh. We have any emergency expenditures?
No,
Are we gonna dive into the budget now, or are we waiting until after streets and ditches? Should probably wait.
Let's wait.
After streets and ditches, good call.
Moving on to the possible auditors,
Did you need this set passed out, the one that you sent me at like 4?
sure. I reached out to a couple of, auditors, asked for them to submit proposals.
Dan's got
We did not,
one. You think Dan's got one?
the treasurer and the clerk didn't feel we had enough time to go through the full RFP process, so we sought out a few quotes. Our current one, and a couple of other well-known auditors in the area. And I did receive, 3 quotes back. They ranged pretty significant in pricing. Our current auditors, let me get to the tab. Our current auditor is Wipfli. I asked for a 1, 3, and a 5-year engagement. However, Dan caught me and realized that we could not do anything past the current president's sitting term. So we couldn't do anything with 3 and 5 years, sign a contract. So Wipfli, Their proposal was $19,400, flat rate each year.
Okay.
They did a 3-year quote. Sikich provided a quote, however, in communicating with them, they have amended their quote, which, I don't know if, is that this one?
Yes,
It's in the
that's,
middle.
that's the most recent one I received this afternoon.
So Sikich on the back page, they did provide a 3-option one, so this is, I mean, I contacted them back. Option 1 is to enter into the fiscal year 2019 and 20 audit agreement with the option to engage 3 remaining years after the president is elected again, whoever the president is. Under that option, though, and I had to speak with Anthony on this, and they're gonna have to spell this out clearly. The reason this price is so much lower than the rest is they're itemizing it out over 5 years. They explained that the first year you do an audit for new business, it's very expensive. There's a lot of prep work that, it's a one-time cost, but if you enter that over a longer period, you can spread that out and lower those costs, so. Option 1 is a 2-year engagement with the option to extend it for the 3 years. However, if we don't extend it, what they'll do is roll us back to the option 2 cost and then give us a final bill to make up the difference, if that makes sense. So, option 2, fiscal year is $13,125 and $13,520. And then the third year is $13,925. So for option 1, if we were to enter into the 2-year agreement and then we don't solicit the option to pick up the remaining 3, they will charge us the difference that would have been option 2, which I think
Right.
was, it was like $5,000-something. It would have been a one-time bill at the end. Or we can go with option 3, which is just a single 1-year, audit, which is still cheaper than our current auditor.
So let me understand this. So like, if we went with the first option but did not continue with 3 years, they would charge us the difference between these 2 here at the end and bill us here?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
yes.
Okay.
So that would be, here, 25.
What do we pay now?
Difference
I think
between
it was around
26,645 and 21,210.
Yeah, so it's about $5,000.
Yep.
Which-
5,435 bucks.
Which,
Right.
when all is said and done, is like basically per year, that without any of...
Well, even
Well,
with
you'd
option,
have the second year
I'm
too.
gonna look it up. Okay. Let's say, who do we use now and what do
They-
we charge?
Whip Folly, $19,400 a year.
Okay.
So even if we did,
No
The
matter
1 year
what,
is still
it's a
cheaper.
straight
No,
fee every year, the same one, or?
Whip,
if you have to read and
Oh.
stuff.
Whip Folly's quote was $19,400.
Okay.
Isn't that the base? Well, that was their quote, you're right. These other ones say this is the base, except for if they do other stuff.
I guess I'll weigh in. I would prefer to see the 2 years with a 3-year option. Gives the board and the president at the time an option to continue with that lower rate. Also puts you in a position of 5 years where you should probably looking at going to a different
Right.
auditor anyway, because we should be rotating auditors every few years to make sure that everybody's being kept up and up.
Every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Just
So-
for comparison, Lauterbach and Amon submitted a quote, I think it was like $29,000 for the year, so.
Wow.
We didn't.
Was that?
Lauterbach and Amon,
Oh, that was the one at the end.
yeah. I don't think they come out here too far, to be honest, that's probably why it was so much. I did, in talking with, Sikich, their,
29.
I don't know what they call them, a case manager or their specific field work person lives in Stillman, so that's probably why we're getting a little, not as much drive time.
How long did we have the other one? With Foley?
8, 9 years,
As long as I've been.
10 years?
Oh,
way beyond,
okay.
My
What's
system
recommended?
only
Okay.
goes back to 11, so, but we
Okay.
had
So
it
we
before
paid
them.
29?
Gotcha.
At least 10 years.
so,
We paid like 29.
Well past due to change.
Do you know how much we paid them last year, Brenda?
That's what she just looked up.
29,000.
We paid them 29,000?
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think Lauterbach submitted a bid for $29,000. Because they called and they pulled that information off the state's website.
Mhm. Okay.
The Sikich option one is a no-brainer, right?
I would agree. There is one, issue, and it is the engagement letter, which they did send us. And I forwarded it to Dan, but he needs time to review it. However, my opinion is that I would like, with Dan's blessing, make the motion for option one pending legal's agreement on the engagement letter.
Sure,
Go ahead.
yeah, I did have an opportunity to, we of course do have other clients that use Sikich, and we have reviewed the Sikich agreement, in the past, and I got some comments from other agreement reviews in our office, and we found some of the same issues with, the Sikich engagement letter. There's some, number one, we need to make sure that's, this option thing, idea will actually get us past that issue with the, with the village president's term. There's some issues with liability limits in their, agreement. There's no provision for insurance. There's no, there's a requirement to agree to mediation. All those things are generally, in our view, unreasonable, and something that we'll need to take back and work out, with Sikich. Those are things that, we have seen them respond to, in other proposals, but it remains to be seen if, they will agree to those changes here.
Well, how about this? Let me look at their time frame real quick. So, I mean, they're wanting to start preliminary field work in April, May. The issue that I see is our next voting meeting, May 12th,
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks.
14.
14. Does that pose a problem for the audit, Brenda? No?
It depends on them, I guess. I just will have to gather whatever information they want, so.
Well, then I would seek consensus from the board to give Dan direction to remediate that engagement letter so that we can have it on the agenda for the next voting meeting.
And we could probably reach out to Sikich, find out exactly what they would want to have, so that when they,
Yeah.
we do.
So I did talk to them.
You'll have time to compare.
I did talk to,
The auditors always send a package of what they want.
So you'll have time to
Their
prepare
sampling
before we
won't be
can
any
vote on it, sign it, and get it going.
I have to give them the same stuff I always do, I'm sure.
I was talking to Sigurd today, and they said the same thing. They've worked with Ansel Glink and other municipalities. There's already agreed upon language between the two entities somewhere in the file. They just gotta pull one out, figure out which one they're gonna use.
Which is most appropriate.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question for Dan then. Is this a good thing for us or not? I mean, how you guys have worked with them, is it a,
I personally haven't. I know that, other municipalities use them.
okay, so you guys don't have
Issues.
issues? I mean,
Stillman uses them, and they've had not any problems, and they like them. Let me put it this way. I'm not inclined to go back to our current auditor just because of the length we've had them, and I'm not really willing to pay $29,000 for
Right.
OtterBox for 1 year.
well, right, but
So-
but the thing is, you're also looking at this and it's like, okay, what other fees are we gonna concur, what are we gonna incur here? It's, and Dan said there's things we'd have to work out. We don't know what's gonna happen.
You always have the option to go with tickets for 1 year and see.
Right, that's why it's,
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Still cheaper.
right. But, I just don't know how they're gonna, if we say, well, we don't wanna do this, this, and this, or we don't have that contract.
Just out of curiosity, if we paid Whiffley, is that how you say it, Brenda?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, if we paid them $29,000 last year, did we have an agreement to pay them $29,000? How did it go from $29,000 to $19,400? Where's the other $10,000? Anybody?
That's why we're making an effort to change this process.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe it will cost more, Sikich will cost an extra $10,000, but it's still gonna be $10,000 cheaper than what you paid this year. assuming,
I don't see other hidden fees on here, where,
depending on what
Yeah,
services
down
you
here,
perform.
like down here on this sheet.
We did enter into an engagement agreement last year
Are you
for
talking about the
our audit
25% of
services.
it?
For how much money?
Just talking about,
I'd have to pull it. I don't have my
you want to invest in
I don't.
I mean, if it's 29,000, then we got what we asked for, right?
Oh, you guys are looking at this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just reading down here.
All of them have language that say if they provide additional services, you're
Right.
gonna get charged. I
Right.
don't care what audit firm you have.
25% of the first year's fee.
No, what that 25% of the first year's fees are is, they're wanting a multi-year agreement, and by doing so, they're able to reduce that, all those years over by 25%. If we do the 1-year agreement, this 1 year is 25% more than the other ones because of the prep work that's involved, that they won't have to do in the other years.
And the problem with the 1-year agreement is we still have to go through with their agreement to get to it.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. You know, for the size of the village,
But I think,
$30,000 is a lot of
is
money.
everybody on the board pretty much in the mindset with the 5-year,
I like the
2-year with the 3-year option?
if it's legal and, you know.
Right, as long as it'll pass muster.
I like that.
Beyond that, again, if they send, if they send in what they need, which Brenda says they usually do, she can be prepared, we can hit this in 3 weeks, so hopefully have everything resolved.
That's my suggestion.
Get it on the meeting for 3 weeks, you've got direction.
Very good,
And the
thank you.
advantage of doing just the 5 years is just because of the cost as opposed to the 3.
Yes, so here's a
Okay.
2-year price, there's a,
Mm-hmm.
or 3-year price,
Okay.
5-year price.
Anything further,
I'm
Collector,
not
streets
even
and
opposed
ditches?
to doing this
Neither
one.
am I.
I'm not opposed to
Okay.
doing a 3-year. Or,
Well, the 2-year with
2 years,
plus
one
1,
option.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I got nothing, I don't think.
Okay. Until we come back around from,
Yeah.
all right. Ordinance enforcement. Clerks, public safety and health.
Yeah, sorry I wasn't here last week. Just wanna let you know, the golf cart came. Looked like they put it to pretty good use at the Easter egg hunt. Everybody enjoyed it, hauled a lot of people around in it.
Fergie was guarding it.
Probably. He's kinda possessive over things like that. Meridian Youth, program started tonight, some of the first practices. I think we ended up with, 28 teams, and I wanna say the head count's between 260 and 270 total this year, which is up probably about 30 players from last year, which is good. So that's gonna be here in full swing, and just, we finally started getting, a couple of the seasonal employees in, last week and Saturday a little bit, got some training done, and you'll start seeing a few more faces around, so give a wave to them, introduce yourselves. There's gonna be a lot of them to learn this year, 'cause we have a lot of new employees. But I think they pretty much got all the, workout stations and all the playgrounds done and mulched before, Easter Sunday at least, 'cause we knew the park was gonna be busy and a lot of people out and about now, so, other than that, that's about it.
Kite Day is coming up the 4th, May 4th,
May 4th.
noon to 2? Or
I'll have to look at it, it's written down, I don't know.
We'll go with May 4th though.
Okay, yes, May 4th is the right date.
That's it.
Okay. Streets and ditches.
Who's ready to spend some money?
Not William.
Pass down? Nope, the whole packet goes passed
Oh,
down.
I'm okay,
That's the whole
budgeted.
packet down.
It's budgeted.
Well, there's one for your neighbor.
2, 3, 4, 5.
So today was the bid opening for all the street projects, or proposed street projects
One for
for
you,
this
one
year.
for John. Yeah, there's a stack. Take a stack and pass it down.
Oh boy, they're all, they all.
Separated?
No, yeah, they're already in the stack.
Oh, you're already, they're separated.
And
Dan,
doesn't
come
get
on.
one.
Oh,
I'll
read yours.
Okay.
Oh, sure, I'm left-handed.
Pick up copies. I thought maybe you could
There we go.
Sorry, there were like 5 pieces of paper there.
Okay. First one on mine is Edson Road seal coat, and that's
seal coating our section of Edson Road from 251 to the railroad tracks. This one we have to, no, this gets awarded tonight, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the microsurface. So anyway, the estimate was 36,500 and the low bidder was 34,320, civil constructor. Questions on that one?
Not hearing any.
So are we, oh, okay. Is there-
Were these the only two that bid on it?
Everybody's is in the same order as yours.
Okay.
Those are the only two bidders for that project. So the next one down is the maintenance garage Autumn Wolf water main extension. 4 bidders on that.
Wow.
The estimate was 117,956 and the low bidder was 82,248. That's a very good price.
That's 30.3% below. That's
Yep.
awesome.
So that's running water to the sewer building, or maintenance building, and then, the water main extension between, Oval Crossings and Harvest Glen subdivision. Next one is microsurfacing. This one actually has to wait till the next board meeting.
It's not on the
It's being, it's using motor fuel tax, so it has to, there's a waiting period before you can award it. But there was three bidders, the estimate was 174,482, and the low bid was 111,480.
We got somebody from Missouri to bid?
Yeah,
Holy cow.
they've bid them all so far,
Oh, really?
guys from St. Louis.
So, I just have a question, and this is not anything that, and I know they usually come up high when they do their estimates and whatnot. Why
Discrepancy?
that's a huge, I mean, $2,100, that's not bad. Even 35,000 doesn't seem, I mean, it's a difference, but this is like $63,000. That's huge.
Yes,
Did they
But
say
you
anything?
look at the first quote. You've got one is 6% below, one is 4.2% above the estimate. Second quote, you range from 30.3% below to only 12.4%.
we had the same thing last year with Struck and Irwin. Struck and Irwin had a surplus of the aggregate that goes in the mix,
Okay.
so they ended up being the winner, and apparently this year.
So it's pretty much the same thing, they're only 12 to 36, 36% is a big percentage, but 12 to 36. So even 12%, that's pretty close.
36 is huge, I think. It is-
As far as I know, there was no concern of their bid yet.
Okay, I just didn't know if that's a
But-
tremendous difference to assume that it's, I
Right.
worry about the quality and,
Quality.
yeah.
I guess if we would looked at it the other way, if they estimated low, and our bids were coming in 30 to 40% over, we'd be up in arms. They're quoting, they're estimating high, and we're only coming in about 11% at the closest, under, and then, obviously, folks have the ability to make it cheaper, so.
We've actually used AC pavement. They did the first microsurfacing project. Struck and Irwin did the last one. And then the final one is the infrastructure improvement. I guess there's 2 more extras. They're all stacked up on,
And I'm gonna go ahead and ask it anyway, so is Martin the one that we used before that was,
yes, they are.
so, and does this go back to the whole thing that just because that's who they recommend in the bid, that we don't have to necessarily, because they're the lowest, choose it? Or, I
I'm
remember
not
we had
sure
this
how that works.
conversation.
Maybe Dan can explain on that one.
Because I remember we talked about
We
this,
can waive the lowest bidder if we have just cause.
because isn't
We
Martin
probably
when
do
we
with
struggled
Martin.
with all the work
David?
that was done and redone?
Dan?
wasn't done in the time of me here.
It has to be,
I'm not sure.
I thought that's the bid packet we were going to.
I don't know if
cannot
that's what-
confirm or deny that. I don't actually ever see the bid packet.
Right, I think that, I recall this being addressed.
They've
Um,
done that, I believe,
yeah.
I thought going back, but I don't know the
What?
final outcome.
We had
The
that
language was
in there that
included.
allows us to do that.
Yeah,
Right,
I
and-
thought it was.
I've thought we have a standing order with Willett Hoffman, that language is always in there now.
Right, and I expect that it has been addressed.
Okay. Because I would be a tad concerned with, because I'm assuming I'm sorry.
It's a chunk of change to go down to O'Brien. And to be honest with you, between O'Brien and Martin, I'd probably choose Martin.
Tell me why. I mean, and I'm okay with, I just wanna know what your thoughts,
I
because
think
you work
O'Brien-
with them more.
Maybe Brett wouldn't agree with me, but I think O'Brien's a much smaller outfit, in my opinion, and they had just as many issues as Martin. that
I absolutely agree with you.
Okay.
Martin was the one that pulled up and left in the middle of summer to go do some school parking lots, right?
Yep.
Martin was,
Hospital.
they were paving, it was either I-90 or something they left, but
Okay.
you're gonna have that with anybody. You
But
have
that was
with
also,
Rock.
we left them that window to do that, and since then, we've also tightened up our expectations as well.
Martin's real issue was the landscape, their landscaping contractor, subcontractor.
Yeah, I do remember that immensely.
So that's probably our biggest risk with Martin,
All right, well,
subcontractor.
go with them then.
So as far as the actual construction part, I think Martin
Okay.
is well qualified. Hopefully they choose a better subcontractor.
Hopefully, yep.
But the estimate was $457,023.50, and their bid was $429,290.50, so that's pretty good. Every one of them had a bid below the estimate.
The infrastructure one also had, My Path piggybacked into that
Yep, that's,
for Autumnwood to, the railroad tracks, just so everybody knows too, so.
Okay.
I think it was, there was an error in one of the calculations.
Yes.
So you would expect, I think it was $5,000 more.
We
By the
estimated
time
5,000
it's
for the budget.
It doesn't affect the bid, but the final cost.
They undercalculated Kenny's project and the amount of materials needed for it, and so we have to anticipate an additional 5,000 on the bids that we received for the,
Engineer.
the engineer. So, we have to add an additional 5,000 to the budget numbers to compensate for that.
That'll be fun, we'll have a bean counter, an attorney, and an engineer.
And then
Yeah, we'll let the
the
jokes
final
fly.
project is the Ogle Crossing sump pump remediation. Estimate was $37,866. The low bid was $31,504.98. That's O'Brien. O'Brien's done work for us before, they're a smaller company, so, I can't
Smaller
remember, did they do the first project out there? Was that O'Brien? You or was that Stenstrom? Stenstrom.
Being that they're smaller, you think,
I
I know,
think they
on
can
this
handle
one, you said there was more of a problem, but on your
I
smaller,
would be
they have a
concerned with
smaller
them on the
project.
big project.
Hold on, I don't wanna say more.
How many homes are these again?
I think it's 5.
How many of them are gonna enter into the agreement to?
I don't know if we ever put in agreement. When we talked, get ready for bid, it includes, the price in the bid includes all the way to the house. If it's something that wants to change, it'll have to be changed in the project.
Why'd we bid it all the way to the house?
Because there was never an agreement put out. Did you ever say anything else?
It was forwarded to the parties, and I never heard anything back on it.
So, it came down to they had to get it out for bid in our meeting here. I said, just take it all the way to the house. If you gotta make changes, you'll have to make changes later.
My position doesn't change, I don't think we should be doing this work all the way to the house. We don't do it for other homeowners.
To me, it doesn't make any sense to put all that money in and not hook it to the house, 'cause make them hook into it is probably gonna be like an act of God to actually, a couple might actually hook up to it, but the ones that aren't asking for it, that make them actually hook into it.
Right, but how's that make the village look when other residents have utility issues outside of the easement and we're not fixing theirs?
Yeah, I mean, it does look bad, but
Well, it depends,
Fix five.
if those utility issues are causing damage to
The Ilcos,
village's infrastructure,
Yeah,
the
we
Ilcos.
talked about that.
okay?
It potentially could damage the village infrastructure, and we didn't engage in that. We let them handle it until that contractor failed and the emergency arose and we had to get involved.
That's the only reason we got involved, was because their contractor got in over their head.
Right, otherwise
that is a homeowner's problem.
as
it
is
did
this
not-
one.
And until that actually took a chance on wiping out the road, which then starts causing damage to our infrastructure, we didn't get involved. Once it got to that point, we got involved, and got involved quickly. Brett was over chasing them out of the village.
I remember.
But, so, I mean, But the sewer lateral itself is on the homeowner, it's on any homeowner, and that's what they were doing. But until it started encroaching on the road, we stayed out of it.
I understand, but so is, I mean, discharge of sump pumps from a house is also on the homeowner.
Right, but it's also encroaching on the road, because we're getting wear on the roads from the
Problem with
water.
them is there's nowhere to discharge it without tying into the storm sewer
I don't understand.
or into the street.
I just don't understand how this small minority group of homeowners in the village gets favoritism to do a project all the way outside of the easement, up to and attached to their physical house, where other residents don't.
Basically just correcting the issue. Keeping the hoses off the sidewalk, keeping the water out of the street.
I understand that, but
If we put the pipe in for them to connect you and they never connected, what the hell's the point?
and all we had to do was just tell them to take the hose off the sidewalk.
Good luck. You're gonna spend way more than that in legal fees fighting it.
Well, and it also, it will benefit more than just those 5 homeowners. It'll benefit anybody that uses that road, it'll benefit anybody trying to use that sidewalk.
Really, it should be on us for not requiring sump pumps to be tied to the steps or some kind of a drainage plan, making sure that, hopefully that's something we do going forward.
Well, what do you do going forward if there are other people that need the same remediation? Are we paying for all that? Just out of curiosity.
Probably just have to keep going down.
I'm not,
Going down
I'm
the
not
lines.
seriously opposed to this, 'cause it's a lot cheaper than what they had proposed in the first place, which I thought was around $50,000, so this is roughly half, but
I'm sure there'll be more pop-up in the future. I don't know what.
We didn't, I just say, we didn't do this for other homes.
Well,
I mean,
it's something we could probably put on, tied into the building permit, is that this stuff needs to be set up to discharge into a place that's not gonna be affecting the road, not gonna be flooding the neighbors.
I would assume our
And it
language
started
already
being-
has that.
There's an Illinois state law for the neighbor.
But we have an issue where the other folks are, these houses were still, yeah,
is this the first one we did? I thought there was a different
There was a second one that went to
This
that was the
houses
first
too.
one, right, this is second.
We've already done 5. This would be the next set of 5.
But it's, we don't have a builder to go back after right now.
I was gonna say, is this, and if I'm not mistaken from the conversation we had before, this is actually correcting a problem that should have been handled to begin with by the builder? Yes?
No.
No? Okay, I got it shaking a head, yes and a no.
I thought our understanding was that they measured the water table and it was low when they built and dredged the property and built everything else, and the water table rose after development.
They started building that property during a drought, so the water table was exceptionally low.
The way I understand it, the water plan deals with surface water, not underground.
Right.
It doesn't deal with underground water.
But we didn't do this with the homes on the corner of Autumn Wood and Golden Prairie, who have constant water sitting in their tubes, because we put in a concrete ditch that one runs, I think, 24 hours a day, but it's gotta go uphill to get out. We didn't trench that one and push it through the concrete. We didn't do this
Talking
for
about
other
sump
homes.
pump hose?
What's that?
You talking about sump pump hose?
Hmm?
I know it's there. I don't know why we didn't move it.
This village has taken the stand that anything outside of the easement is the responsibility of the homeowner. I don't see why we're changing that position now.
Yeah, it's certainly a stretch, but it does take care of the issue, I think. Which has been an issue for quite some time, so. I think for the small amount, it's worth it to just finish it, get it done on one.
My understanding that the consensus was that we were okay with doing this, but we were supposed to ask the homeowners if they were gonna tie into this, and if they were, we were gonna do the project, and that was fine, but if they weren't,
Yeah, it came down to it, and I don't believe, I'd never heard anything back about asking homeowners, so I said, go ahead and just do it to the house. So
Let's get a public
if you want,
works
if you wanna change it,
perspective.
you guys will have to change it in the project. You
Brett,
can
is
do
this,
an addendum or something. or
is
just
this
change
the water situation too with the ice and all that stuff as well?
Yes, that is correct. Just a note, I'm not sure if Jason or William touched on it, but, I'm sure everyone is aware, we are building houses out there. They are doing anywhere from, well, another 5 this season, they did 5, 6 last season. So, and I believe we talked about this, at another meeting. If we're gonna somehow get the contractor to, the builder to start tying in or doing something or whatever, we may wanna start working on that very, very soon. because we're gonna be in this boat for the next few years if we
Well, the new houses that are going in are being built higher, which we saw that day we went out there to address a runoff issue.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they're gonna have the same sump pump issues or not.
They may not. They may not. I just, like I said, unfortunately, I don't wanna find out the hard way, so.
Well, no, I understand.
But
looking at
yes,
this-
you might be 100% correct.
I don't know how many are out there that are constantly pumping outside of these other five, I'm not sure.
House connection, $250 a house. PVC pipe, $30 a house. I mean, it's gonna, I understand this is gonna be minimal in the grand scheme of things, but the homeowner can't cover that.
I don't know. What if they don't want to? I don't know.
That, if they don't want to, then they cut their hose short and stop discharging it before the sidewalk. That's the simple answer. That they're required to mitigate the water on their property. They're not allowed to discharge it off their property. We've had other residents in here have that same argument, that people are discharging water underneath fences into their backyards, and they can't do that. It's no different than discharging it through our right-of-way into the curb.
Yeah. Can we stop them from discharging in the right of way?
Depends where it is.
Over the sidewalk and
Over the sidewalk and over crossings,
Over the curb and into the street, the
Yeah.
actual hose.
so it goes over the sidewalk, so.
Some of 'em
it's
have
a
a-
potential hazard to anybody that's going down through their trips, I mean, then it's a lawsuit.
So what about the guys that tunnel in under the sidewalk and put the bubbler right next to the curb?
That's fine.
And then there's still water out in the street all year long.
Well, you don't have the,
Freezes.
Well, they can't, they cannot
So
put,
basically, we'd have to tell them you can't discharge.
they cannot
or-
put infrastructure in our easement without our permission, correct?
Sure, but.
I
So
I
they
think,
just-
I think
they
we're
just
given
pond up
a
behind the
very
sidewalk.
long, extended arm caveat to the homeowner here. We're asking for a little bit of assistance on it to solve their problem.
Yeah,
They don't
I
wanna
mean-
solve the problem.
I mean, it's bid the way it is. If you guys wanna change it, then change it. I don't, it doesn't matter to me.
My issue is that it went out to bid that way.
So, I think for the small amount of money, it's worth it to just get it done and make sure everything's connected and it's done and over with. Like we did the last go around.
And what happens to the next homeowner that says, I got a 4-foot sinkhole in my backyard? We gonna go back there and fix that one?
Oh, discharging water into the street out here.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I think it does.
I
Again,
don't think we're
it
just
goes
going out
back
there
to affecting
for
the
fun.
public's infrastructure.
We're not going out
I think
for
your
fun,
water
we're trying to-
discharge is negatively affecting the discharge, the infrastructure. We saw the erosion on the road, we saw the erosion in the curbs. It was all out there. We have the ice buildup during the winter time. For the $1,400 to make the connection and stop that problem.
But,
Well, it's not $1,400.
but the truth is, if there's that issue and it's affecting our infrastructure, then you either can go in and fix it yourself and charge the homeowner, or you can force them to do that. Is that not correct? Mr. Attorney?
We can't legally go in and force them.
But again, at what cost?
What, if it's a public hazard, we can't
The-
force
the-
them to
We
to
can't,
remediate?
I don't see how we can force them to do an expensive fix, when
I
the
understand,
cheapest
but
fix is
I don't
just,
care if they shut it off or whatever, I'm just saying, whatever it is, you have the
our
village
authority
does
would be
have
to
a
say,
right-
stop dumping it in the street.
No, I'm saying your 4-foot sinkhole is what I'm saying.
Oh,
Just like the lady who was in the front yard of the people who's got there, and came in and took over. It would be the same thing. You could have charged, the village could have charged them for that. They could have went back and charged the homeowner for that.
I don't think we can comment on that.
I'm just saying you could have. So you have the same option again. I didn't say it was a good idea, and hopefully we don't have the problem.
I don't think we can comment on litigation right now.
Sorry, I'm not.
So we could tell them not to.
But again,
discharge-
again, at what cost? You've got this, like William's point, minor cost. Or you start pushing for legal action and it starts, the cost just starts escalating.
I don't
What do you
see it
gotta-
as legal action.
What do you gotta do to make somebody to tie in their sump pump into our new pipe we give them?
Involuntarily?
No?
Right, they either do it by agreement, or, I suppose you could write, it depends whether there's, some kind of like stormwater easement rights in the subdivision plat that I'm not familiar with, or you're, for damage to the infrastructure, start writing daily tickets and go to circuit court about it. That's the alternative.
What happens if one of these homeowners say, no, they don't wanna connect? Does that void our contract here, or our bid, or, I mean,
I don't know.
we're gonna pay for that anyway? I mean, how does that work?
Question.
I'm a little,
I can't see
I'm
any-
baffled that we
I can't
didn't
see any
actually
alternative.
contact the homeowners before we did this.
Well, they'll
Before we're
need to
gonna
get
award it.
easements to do the work. I don't believe we've gotten easements yet.
No.
We haven't
been
awarded the
contacted.
project. Usually award the project, then go after your easements, generally. But so, if we wanna go all the way to the house, if you wanna hook it all up, that's fine. If you wanna stop at the sidewalk, that's fine too. Doesn't really change the bid at all.
And I'm thinking at this point, if we only stop at the sidewalk, then we're not addressing the problem that we have with the water and the ice and that's just what I'm thinking.
One would think they would wanna hook it in
I can't imagine why they
by
would.
themselves, but you don't know. You never
I don't
know.
know, I know.
Right.
Yep.
You don't know people's positions and you
Sure.
don't know their financial situation.
So do these fit into the budget?
Yes,
All right,
maybe not,
what's that?
maybe not microservice and three,
Oh,
for all of us.
so, should we award these tonight? Or do you guys wanna go over your budget?
Oh, we're gonna budget.
It's up to you, if you make the
All right.
motion.
I'll start going down on this. Okay, so I make a motion to award the Edson Road Seal Coat project to Civil Constructors for the bid of $34,320.
Second.
Jason makes a motion to award the Edson Road Seal Coat project to Civil Constructors an amount of $34,320. Jared seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bill?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes,
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
okay, Old Crossing sump pump. I make a motion to award the Old Crossing sump pump remediation project to O'Brien Civil Works in the amount of $31,504.98.
Second.
Jason makes a motion to approve the Ogle Crossing sump pump remediation project to O'Brien Civil Works in the amount of $31,504.98. Jared seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes,
William?
No.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
Yeah. Yes.
Motion passes 8-13.
okay, I make a motion to award the infrastructure improvements to Martin and Company Excavating for the bid of $429,290.50.
Second.
Jason makes a motion to approve the infrastructure improvements project to Martin and Company Excavating in the amount of $429,290.50. Jared seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jason?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
8-13 still.
I make a motion to award the maintenance garage and Autumn Wolf water main extension project, Northern Illinois Service, for the bid of $82,248.10.
Second.
Jason makes a motion to approve, to award the maintenance garage and Autumn Wolf water main extension to Northern Illinois Service in the amount of $82,248.10. Jared seconds. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
William?
Yes. Sorry.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Passes 8-14.
All right, that's all I have.
That's one that has to wait 8 days, I think.
That'll get, It has a waiting period, since it's motor fuel type.
Okay.
Jason, and it, we said 111,000, we don't really award it.
Anything further,
We
Jason?
haven't awarded this one.
Is that
It'll be
the-
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That you were talking about last week?
Anything further?
No, nothing further.
Yeah.
Utilities Committee?
I see it's on here, but this is the one we talked about last week, so I mean, I don't know, like, what,
We are
Oh,
just
everybody
sealing
knows.
the deal from last
Okay.
week.
all right. So, if anybody has any questions about that, I would imagine at this point, probably William might have more information on it than I would, but,
So yeah, the project, if I recall, was about $180,000 to go south to the village limit on 251. The price to put the fire hydrant on the east side of the road, underneath the road, I think was $35,000. I have not heard back from that business if they're willing to cover that cost yet,
We did,
so.
we did anticipate the full cost in the budget,
So yeah, they put the full cost was $205,000, I believe.
215.
215, minus the 100,000 from the DECO grant, minus 35,000 from the company, leaves us at, I think, 80,000. And if they don't want that hydrant, I believe we just
Change order?
push it south to the end of the village limit and leave it. Do we wanna, what does the village wanna do, wait for the property owner or proceed with the water extension?
I think we
I would
proceed and do a
rather
change
proceed.
order if we need to.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Do we have the numbers?
What numbers?
You don't need one.
Oh,
Oh, you want the bid? This is approving it.
To go out for
to
bid,
go out
right?
to
I'll
bid,
go out
yeah.
for engineering, okay.
Actually, yeah, I discussed the time frame last week, do we want it brought up again, or
No, it was pretty quick.
it was an aggressive
what?
It's very
construction
aggressive.
project?
Because we had to also look at 251, right, that construction, or is that not gonna affect it?
We had to see if we had still had IDOT
Right.
permit.
Right.
Mhm.
We did not, they've reapplied, that's what, I had to have you emergency
Okay.
come in and sign.
Mhm.
Good call,
The, I do know that at this point, the next time we meet for voting, we should be approving
the bid.
of the bid.
Okay.
So that's how aggressive this is.
And we do still need an easement.
Yes.
Have you talked, Matt came into my office and we went through my easements, and he took back some information with him so that he could double check
Okay.
what we had and didn't have.
Okay. So
Do we need a motion for that, or do we need to?
Yes, it's just confirming what you guys agreed to last week, so I'd
Okay.
prefer a motion.
I make a motion to direct Willett Hoffman to send out to bid the Route 251 water extension south of the village limits project.
I'll second that.
William makes a motion to allow Willett Hoffman to send out for bids the Route 251 water extension south of village limits project. Dina seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Jen?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Dina?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
William?
Yes.
Passes 818. Anything further in utilities?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Economic development. Nothing? Back to budget.
Can I say something? Get your guys' I forgot I have something else before we get into budget. For the park, or not park, but, I was contacted by the lady who is running the Fairdale Kirkland garage sales. They are doing it the same days we are, and they asked if we could somehow, like on our end, we would advertise, but I'm not sure, 'cause I just told her I would bring it if anybody cared, to make relationships with the other communities, 'cause she just said, you know, trying to promote it so people here would know,
I like it.
you know, and I was.
Just extends the garage sale route.
Yep,
Right.
All right.
exactly, 'cause I said at one point, Monroe Center used to do it, New Milford, we all used to do it on the same weekend, and I'm like, you know, I said, we're all about building relationships, but I said I would bring it to the board, get back to her, and then I figured if her and Jess wanted to, 'cause I know Jess does all of that stuff, if they could get together and come up with a plan. But I just wanted to see how the board felt and get a blessing before I put this back on Jess.
Oh, they're a lot thinner than I thought they were.
I think it's a good idea. Kind of reminds you of like the Route 66.
Well,
Facility.
that's what I was
I,
thinking.
I
I'm
think it
like,
goes
like-
pretty much hand in hand with us looking at
Right.
doing the electronic recycling with,
Right, just try,
with
and I
Stillman
thought
and Monroe
the
Center and-
building relationships, I thought
Right.
going that way would be great.
Kind of the
It's
Route
awesome.
72 garage sale days.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will tell Jess to go ahead and whatever she wants to work with her on, before I forget. Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
All right, I passed out the budget. The great news was, we had a completely balanced budget between income and revenue. The bad news is, we then decided to add the DCEO project. So, with that project, after 6 months of badgering each other back and forth, we have come up with a budget that is a negative $120,000, $120,000 of that being the DCEO project. So we had a perfectly balanced budget until that last minute unexpected. However, we all agree, I think, that nobody wants to bypass the opportunity to use the grant and the $100,000. So, prior to that, we were going to present you this very thin budget because it's completely balanced, minus that last minute hiccup of this afternoon. There is nothing outstanding in here. I don't think there's any major projects beyond the typical maintenance and upkeep. You'll notice on the last page that those were projects that did not make it into the budget this year. Those are projects that we are gonna have to budget for next fiscal year or very soon, or discuss, using capital improvement funds for those projects.
we've got options.
We do have options, but we were very excited to present you a nice balanced budget. Jason Street's projects came in just where we needed them to hit a complete zero. And then we added in the grant project. So, are there any questions on there? Because of the form of government in which we operate, we will just take your blessing if there are no objections and move forward with the appropriations.
That's great.
I have a kind of a question, but I don't know if it really has to do with, okay, I guess, 'cause I know in parks, we have a lot of things that we have that we need to push forward to get done. Have we found a grant writer yet to possibly?
No, but
Okay.
what I can tell you is that IML this year joined Grant Finder, I believe, and we do have access to that. So
Okay.
if you'd like the login information, just contact me and I
Okay.
will shoot you that information.
Okay.
And you can look up what types of grants are available for whatever project it is that you are currently looking for.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yep, please keep in mind with the Grant Finder that IML only provides one login and one password, so I have that information. And if we try to access another, they will charge us $1,000, so.
Well, what I'd say is, even though this is upside down by $100,000+,
$120,000.
I think with our normal, spending that we do, where we will end up under budget,
Yes.
we should end up at net zero, or still under budget.
And as I said, we were at a complete zero. We were completely balanced across the board, but that, pushing in that last minute project to use the DCEO funds has kind of thrown us a little upside down, but.
So one thing I still look forward to is what we talked about budget time last year, was, I know we were a little upside down last year, but we still anticipated we would probably end up with a surplus at the end of the year. And if we do, to have that commitment to invest that.
We did, for the most part. We did a transfer 2-3 weeks ago, roughly.
It was a month ago.
A month
It was a month ago. It was on last.
So,
It was on last
that's
month's
something I wanna
agenda
make sure we
before.
get out there, because
Yes.
when we got to the budget point last year, we made that commitment that if we did end up under budget, anything we did have that was under budget, we were gonna take that money and invest it, rather than leave it, roll it for other things.
So,
And, I think we should attempt to do the same thing again this year.
Well, how does that leave us? Like, let's say if parks, we cut money out, and, 'cause we we need to put it aside for a project next year. Are we gonna get that money taken away from us? If we like, you know, 'cause I know Kenny and I have talked about different projects we wanna do, and we're like, well, if we could do this, but if we,
Well, we've talked about
Don't use that money.
setting up investment funds where we could do that, where we could put that money into the investments, you could budget that amount of money to go into that account for 2-3 years to where you could build up to the
Right.
amount you want, and the money would still be there, because you're actually budgeting it to go into an investment, something that we're allowed to invest in, and then you pull
Okay.
the money out and use it.
Well, Brenda and I had this discussion earlier today, actually, and her suggestion is valid, which is there's really no reason to separate accounts if we don't need to. We can actually just leave it in
There's-
one, and
And then I can
she can manage it behind the
track it.
scenes.
Right.
Yeah, there's options.
So there is that option.
Okay,
But you'd have, again, if you're setting that money aside, budget it to be aside.
Right.
So that we have a record of where it's gonna be kept, and that when the 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, that you're saving to pass that, or to build whatever it is, or do the project, the money has been accounted for, we know what it's sitting there for.
yeah, 'cause I just know our playground equipment's in how many different places, and we know we need to replace that with its lifespan, so
I
that can
think
be
you're-
quite costly.
I think some of yours are on the, at least one of your
Mhm.
your playgrounds is on the
Yeah.
project list that got cut.
Mhm.
that we
I know.
did plan
That's what we do in our
for.
personal lives, you save for,
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if we can know that we're not gonna continually to get that cut, and if we plan to,
The, go ahead, I thought you were done, sorry.
no, just if we can plan to say, okay, if we can cut our X budget by this much, and we know that we're gonna continue to have that money to plan a couple years in advance and know
Well,
we're
this
gonna
is
have.
this is a prime example of what we
Right.
need. I'm a true believer of taking the money we have, and I like dividing it, 'cause that's the way it's simplest for me to operate, but I know Brenda hates that, so I stopped bringing it up.
I mean, we still have the money.
Sorry, Brett.
to-
I'm
We do
aware.
have the money to
But-
divide into your
For like this is exactly what we need to plan for capital improvement projects
Right.
down the road. What I wanna see next is obviously the list to grow for needed projects.
Right,
But I wanna see years, when these projects are gonna be done.
Okay.
However, half of these, there's other options for.
well, that's why I said we
Yeah.
have options.
There may be, as I said, this is, when we started this budget process, I asked everybody, throw at me everything that you want, need, whatever. So we started with this tremendous list, and I think we were over budget by like $3 million.
Did we get Nancy's
And
gazebo on there?
and so then we went in and we kinda realistically went through some of the things, and these are some of the last minute items that took the final cut. Like, these are the things that Kenny was like, or Bertie was like, I really would like these things, but we were like, to get a balanced budget, these are the things that have to be, they were willing to give these things up, because they realized it could wait maybe one more year,
So
but there are a few
we
things out
beat
here.
the budget, I mean, I don't wanna say beat it down, but
I think they feel that
I
way.
the years of doing the high budgeting and low spending, to get that wide range of gap, and it's shrinking quickly, because we need a budget that is an operating budget, that we know this is what we operate under. Instead of inflating revenue, or deflating revenue and inflating expenditures to have a large black at the end of the year is not the way we should be operating.
And to be honest, I had another spreadsheet in here that I actually removed, which showed the difference over the last 3 years. But because of that budgeting style,
Yeah.
it made it look,
Yeah, our budgets used to be over 5 million.
it used to,
Right.
yeah, it made it look wrong. And that's when I realized I couldn't, using the new budgeting that we use versus the old, I couldn't compare them.
I think all the numbers now, after a couple of years, are starting to straighten out and cycle through, between coding and the right line items,
We started that probably a few years ago.
and the proper line items, and everything's starting to kinda tame down. If you look at each line item, I'd say probably out of each, and every one, there's been money taken out over the last couple of years consecutively. That's, like Billy said, to the point of being dialed in a little bit closer here every year,
Well,
so.
that was the point, to make everything a lot more realistic. You know, like Billy.
Years of
when-
budgeting
when-
$7,000 in sand for the
Right.
infields are gone.
Right, I mean, just to have the money sitting there, just to have the money sitting there for the appropriations, we shouldn't have done that. We should have been sitting at the point where we were doing realistic budgets and trying to meet them. And, I think we've made great strides in that.
Yeah, and even with the slight deficit with the additional project, I think that we will probably still come in,
We'll be pretty close.
we'll be pretty close, but I think it,
So just out of curiosity, do you remember the approximate number we transferred a month ago?
900,000?
I think we were, what, 180
No,
upside down
900,000.
last year?
Hmm?
What were we upside down on the budget last year?
500,000.
So, that's a 1.4 million swing.
We're doing, I mean,
Better.
we're
Some
getting,
of that-
we're improving to,
Better.
I
We still
understand.
have money.
when we paid off our last loan and what we said we were going to do, which is not what we did, we're starting to try and correct that.
Correct.
Are you saying you saved $900,000?
Not out of that budget, no.
No. No, that was other things.
But we had just in a
That was just the
local
transfer.
account.
Are there any questions?
That budget's not over yet.
No, I know.
Yeah. Are there any questions or concerns on this? Otherwise, we will plan on using this as our budgeting for the next fiscal year, and then Brenda will prepare the appropriations, and I'll make the ordinance for it.
You're gonna do the 6:45 meeting on the 14th?
That was gonna be my next discussion, is when did you want to do that next meeting?
Budget year starts May,
Budget year starts May 1st. I will say, this is the first time in the history since I've been being involved with the village that we've passed it in May.
yeah, normally we're like June.
July.
Late June.
Usually we are like the last meeting in June, first meeting in July, cramming it to get it passed before the deadline comes. I won't say that timeline didn't come without pain and suffering by people.
I'm good with the 14th at 6:45.
I'm good with the pain and suffering.
You wanna do the 14th at 6:45?
I'm good with that.
All right, I will publish for an appropriations ordinance for the 14th at 6:45.
We've done things that weren't easy. I know Billy and I have been, especially last year, we're kinda harsh about the budget. But it was needed. We needed to get things a lot more realistic. I don't think anything has, gone without. We've gotten equipment we needed this year that we've kicked down the road way too long. So even in this year's budget, then we can just still end up in the black, and get the stuff we needed to get because we budgeted smarter, was fantastic. And I have to give that all to you guys, so thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys doing that and getting together to figure that out.
I think the more we work together, the more easier it is to get dialed in, you know.
Out of curiosity, when will you know how you did on your budget?
Probably
May
May
14th.
Probably May 14th.
I'll look at money, lady.
She'll know probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She'll.
After I balance,
You're not using accrual accounting, so it's not like, there'll still be outstanding stuff, but you'll be relatively close by then.
Pretty much anything after today will go into the next fiscal
Yeah.
year. 'Cause there's nothing, we can't pay bills out of this fiscal year anymore. Credit card usage will fall into next fiscal
That's
year.
our last voting meeting.
Yeah, so pretty much everything from here on out will fall into the next fiscal year for the next week and a half, or next week. Or Brenda just has to do accounting.
And that whole non-accrual thing got me.
Normally, anything that was bought this year or services provided this year, you will put into this year's
Right,
budget.
or if materials are on site, you can
With
put those
the-
into this
right,
year,
with
right.
accrual accounting, but because you do it on a cash basis, as long as you don't pay for it this fiscal year, it won't go into fiscal year's budget.
That's, ironically, one of the auditors did mention that they highly suggest we switch to an accrual-based
They
system.
also wanted to charge you the $2,000, that was the expensive one.
Yeah, they were gonna charge us a training fee.
I believe, and don't quote me on this, that there was some changes to the statute recently that said that if we switch out of the cash basis, we can't go back.
I believe that's
Yeah, if
true.
we leave the cash accrual accounting system, then we can go back. We're only grandfathered into continue using it as long as that's what we've used in the past, is my recollection from the, I believe it just came out.
They
the
were
last year.
going to change it to everybody be accrual, but that did not pass. So
Yeah, and then they
it's in
stuck the
cash.
addendum in there that said that you can stay cash if you're cash, but if you leave cash, you have to switch over. That's all I have on the budget.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work on it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank them. They put up with me.
Fairly. Okay. Anything further on the budget? Looks great.
Can we get something similar to this for the year-end report?
If Brenda
Very
gives
nice,
me the
isn't it?
numbers, I can make the line chart. Just give me the treasurer's report at the end of the year, and I'll make the graph.
All right.
Simply, all I did was take last year's and
Right.
insert this year's numbers, so what I'll do is I'll just copy those over and insert the new numbers.
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
I prefer the line chart over the
I'll have
pie.
time to make.
Yeah.
We will only be doing line charts.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me the treasurer's report when it's done, I'll prepare.
I just make.
I will give it to you, cause you put it in the board packet.
Preferably before lunch.
All right. Public. There's batteries dead.
It is, and it will be
No,
soon.
it's not.
I got this nice letter from Willett Hoffman. I had some questions on it. Can you answer those?
Possibly.
Alright.
First time I seen it was just now.
I just gave him his
Yeah.
copy,
Oh, would you like to see my copy?
the same copy.
Like your driveway redone?
Actually, I'm gonna get my driveway redone. But I didn't I didn't understand totally what they're saying. You know, I thought the whole point of my getting my entire driveway completed, you know, while this process goes on, is that the people will already be out there doing it, and it'll be cheaper that way.
No, it basically prevents you from having a seam in your driveway. So,
Sure. No, I understand that, but if they're also out there,
well,
economy of scales should say that you're gonna get a cheaper price with the people who are already doing it.
generally generally the contractors that do our work won't touch
Well,
driveways.
they're subcontracting it out to somebody to do it for them,
I don't know.
right?
I don't know.
Blacktopping the driveways or concreting it.
Sometimes they do it themselves, sometimes they subcontract it.
Alright.
So,
So we don't know that, no, alright. And then I was, you know, why do I need a signed agreement by May 31st?
so that they know which driveways they're gonna pave and which ones they're gonna skip.
You're gonna order asphalt.
I didn't give them the, I don't know where the
Material.
date came
Do the cut, how much you pay the cut.
from. So they cut it at the property line, they take it out, put the
You know, I get
grooves
that
in.
part, I've seen it before, except for that I didn't understand why to the 31st.
I don't
If
know
I
where
just
they
tell them
came
that
from.
I'm gonna have my whole driveway replaced, they shouldn't need to have a signed contract for that. All they should know is that I'm gonna take care of it.
They,
And then,
they want a signed contract that you have with your paving contractor. No, it's we need a copy of,
John,
a
you
copy
have
of
a
your
mic.
contract
again,
with your
Why?
paving.
I think it's just to have the record of that, they're going to skip you and that you authorize them
yeah,
to skip.
well,
them.
if I tell them,
We've had it before where people said, yeah, I'm gonna have it done, and they don't have it done.
Verbally is not a record.
alright,
This is a record, once you sign it.
yeah.
It makes it
except for
cleaner.
that-
So if you wanna have your entire driveway done, get a contract, a copy of your contract, and then those,
And then it goes on to say that, I need to have my driveway completed by the time that the contractors are done, and how do I know that, and how does my contractor know that? I clearly can't, you can't replace your driveway until after they put in the
I think the thought is if
concrete
you're,
siding, right?
what's happened normally is usually people go to King and come the very last push before winter, King's finally out there doing their driveways, and they've already been long gone, our contractor.
Oh, is that
They
right?
don't come back and redo the landscaping along
So
your
you're telling me
driveway.
I shouldn't use King?
I'm not telling you that, I'm just saying that if you're not done by the time the street project's done, and you just have gravel driveway, then you'll probably have to plant your own grass
Yeah,
along your
what
driveway.
do they say, why are they saying that we're responsible for the surface restoration, seating, et cetera?
Can you put your mic closer?
Sorry, why are they saying that we're responsible for the, surface restoration, seating?
If you have your driveway replaced all the way to your house, you'll have to
Oh, you
fix
mean
your
the
grass.
part that isn't within, oh, sure, well, I would expect if you're gonna be responsible for the driveway portion, you would be responsible
Are they
for the
not
grass.
getting a credit for the,
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
They'll get a credit for the piece from the property line to the
Okay.
street.
Yeah, but they also don't tell
But
you
they're not
what
gonna
that
touch,
is.
they're not gonna touch the grass.
That's a measure.
It all depends on how long your
However-
driveway is.
However, say they have all the sod installed in August, September, King doesn't come out and do your driveway till October. Martin's not gonna come back out in October and sod along your driveway, that's just gonna be your loss. That's
Right,
pretty
right,
much what
well, sure, and if I sign a contract with somebody, I'm gonna want it done before the project's done, that'll be part of the contract that I sign.
Good luck.
Mhm.
Usually they all say we'll come in when they're done.
Well, the project done is next year, 1 year, correct?
They don't say that in the letter, and
I believe it's by the time that the landscaping is complete.
I
I
don't,
haven't read every.
they
word.
also don't tell you how much they're
I'm
gonna
sorry,
pay.
I'm confusing the warranty. I'm sorry.
Why, how come they don't tell you how much you, I mean, I'd like to know how much I'm gonna be on the hook for.
Well, they just got the,
And if I don't know
we
how
just
much,
got the bid, so now we'll
Alright.
know.
so now they'll know? Alright,
I believe there's a
They do the
second
square
letter that'll
foot.
go out.
Will they send
They
an
do.
additional
Yeah,
letter out?
they'll do a square foot, and since your
Square foot.
cul-de-sac, it may,
Who's the new guy,
oh,
Brett?
another
Mike,
letter?
Matt? Mike, Matt,
usually
new guy?
cul-de-sacs have
Willard Hoffman?
He should have a
other
list.
things.
What? Quack? Oh.
Quack, yeah, that is.
I just wanna know how much I'm gonna have to pay and, you know, what I'm gonna have to do in the meantime, but
Well,
the
it
letter's
often
just
can-
not very clear, and I'm sure there are people who are gonna ask, because I already had one of my neighbors come up and talk to me.
Yeah, I used to get a list from Luke, well, actually, I think they used to send it out with the letter. They had to said if it's your driveway, is
Yeah, usually
I think
usually
I
everything's
think it
signed by
came-
Corey.
It came about,
Mhm.
yeah, it came about 2 months later than the original letter in last year's project. A year and a
This
half.
letter?
The one with the breakdown on the actual cost.
Oh.
I think it came with the push letter that
Before or
said we
after May
really-
31st?
Mhm.
I
They
don't know.
they just, yeah, need the.
I'm just saying.
I don't
I'd like to know that before I make my decision.
I think it says
Welcome
on the
to Davis
letter, though,
Township.
to give them a call if you have questions, I'm sure they can answer that now for you.
Anything further from public? Anything further from the board members? Anything further from the better half in the back of the room?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to adjourn, Jared seconds. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:40.